I don't.
Okay. Uh, Ready to call the order tonight's RNCC meeting. It is February 12th, 2024. The meeting will be recorded. Please be respectful to speakers, and please be respectful for everybody else in the group. So my name is Ardo Rentila. I'm the president of the RNCC, and I'd like to start out with doing introductions. Rock, would you like to start out? And if you have a president's report.
Okay, no report. Rock Brown, treasurer of East Richmond Neighborhood Council, and the Sergeant at Arms of the RNCC.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I'm Jan Mignoni. I'm the president of the North and East Neighborhood Council, and I am the treasurer for the RNCC. We haven't had our, we should this month have our first hybrid meeting, I'm hoping. I haven't got it set up yet, but I got a couple weeks, so hopefully. Last meeting was we still did it online, but it'd be nice to set it up and do it differently. Thank you. What?
Hello, my name is GARLAND ELLIS, President of the Richmond Annex Neighborhood Council, also the Public Information Officer for the RNCC. We haven't had a meeting yet this year. We're going to have one at the end of February and then another one in April. And since we haven't had a meeting yet, there's nothing new this year.
Rita?
Good evening. My name is Garetha Johnson. I'm president of Parchester Neighborhood Council, and I'm a director at large for the RNCC. And we don't have our meeting until next month, but a couple of things that Parchester has been working on is taking care of the vegetation behind Parchester. So we had a meeting with one of the representatives from Union Pacific, and so we did a walkthrough, and so that's going to be happening this spring. And also today, just as a thank you, Parchester Village did some Valentine's Day treat for our abatement crew because they're just so good to us. That's it.
Lori?
Hi, I'm Lori Hart, Parchester Village Neighborhood Council Secretary and Director at Large for RNCC.
Thank you. Could I get you folks to come up to the podium to introduce yourselves? Those of you that aren't shy.
Hello, my name is O3 Christian, and once upon a time I used to be part of the RNCC and the Iron Triangle Neighborhood Council as president, and now I'm presently the school board member at the West Country Castro Unified School District, and so I'm here to give like an update reporting, on the school district, and so yes, that's it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bryce Alamon, representing the Metro Square and Richmore Village neighborhoods. Nothing new to report at this time, except that on the 23rd, Friday the 23rd, there will be some power outages in the Richmore Village neighborhood due to new power poles going up. Thank you.
Hi, John Bauman, Vice President of the Castro Heights Neighborhood Association. We had our first meeting in January. The only issue, or the most significant issue we're dealing with, is an effort to replace a sound wall along Castro Ranch Road that we're working in collaboration with the Carriage Hills South neighborhood. And at some point we'll be talking to the city to get approval for that as we go forward.
Thank you. I see our guest speakers over there. He's a little busy right now. That's Ben Therriault from Richmond Police Officers Union. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself, Ben?
My name is Ben Therriault. I'm the president of the Richmond Police Officers Association.
Thank you. For those of you that are online, could you please raise your hand if you'd like to introduce yourself, and if you're president of a neighborhood council or on their e-board and have a report, now would be a good time. Are there any hands?
Margarita?
Margarita, you online?
She had her hand up. Okay, I'll come back to Margarita. Josephine?
Hi, good evening. Josephine Velasquez, May Valley Neighborhood Vice President and corresponding secretary for the RNCC. Nothing to report.
Michael E. Smith?
Yes, good evening. This is Michael E. Smith, Interim Fire Chief for the City of Richmond, and I'm glad to be with you this evening. Have no report.
Crystal B?
Hello, are you able to hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, good, great. Hi, something's going on my computer. I apologize. My name is Crystal Barton. I am the president of the Laurel Park Neighborhood Council. We had our first meeting January 24th, and it was we had a representative from the mayor's office and Councilwoman Gail McLaughlin come. There were some concerns brought up that each person who attend each of our guests addressed, and we're looking forward to having those needs met, and we're looking forward to we're working on the Love Your Block grant to get some beautification going on in the neighborhood. So that's the little short report out for us.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Jim Hanson?
Hello, everybody. Jim Hanson, President of East Richmond Neighborhood Council. I guess, a very short report. We had a January meeting where we had a guest talk about the natural and cultural history of Point Mulati. And then actually at the end of this month, we'll be looking at some of the school district capital projects as they go into the future, including the Adams School, which is up in our area. So thank you.
Margarita, you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Hi, everybody. Margarita Mitas with the president of the Marina Bay Neighborhood Council, and we'll have our first meeting in March, second Wednesday of March.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers?
Yes. Shiva?
Good evening. This is Shiva Mishek. I am Chief of Staff to Richmond Mayor Eduardo Martinez.
Thank you.
Stephanie Nye?
Hello, everyone. This is Stephanie Nye, City of Richmond Community Services Department, Recreation Division, and Staff Liaison to the RNCC.
Now I have Jim Hanson again. He has his hand up. Just lower it. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. Moving on, I guess we'll go to GARLAND ELLIS, our information officer. Do you have anything you'd like to report on, GARLAND?
There's a few general announcements that we'll make. There's quite a few that aren't really current. Either they ended up last weekend or you don't have enough time to actually act upon them. These are some of the ones that are that give you a little more time to act upon. Virtual block captain training. This would be good for all the neighborhood councils. And this will be February 28th. It's a free training class. You should register ahead of time. And this is if you want to start a watch group or a bunch of watch groups. And there's information on the city manager's website. Reading this, the print is kind of small, so you may want to go there to see the email address to sign up for it. But that is February the 28th. The farmer's market is back in swing every Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And this is out in front of the Richmond Library. Black History Celebration coming up Saturday, February 24th from 1 to 3 p.m. You can come in at 12:30 or later. This is at the Richmond Memorial Auditorium. And they do want you to RSVP in advance. Also, Stephanie would probably want everyone to be reminded of the Love Your Block mini grants. This is open to all the neighborhood councils. And see Stephanie for more information and to sign up. They have different levels and they can explain that to you so you can apply for them. The application deadline for the newest one is February 23rd. Also, there's an interesting website put out by the state of California. You can find the information again on the city manager's website. It's called Listos California. It's by California OES. They have information there regarding storms, whether it be wind, rain, also earthquakes, fires, just about anything that the state of California would be involved in as far as a natural disaster. And they give you information there on what you should be doing to prepare for these or how you can get other information. And if you go to the city manager's website and just tap on the Safety Resource Hub listed under Listos, California, it'll take you to that spot and there's a lot of information there for you. There's also a lot of other announcements for school-age children. A lot of these are probably being made known through the schools, and it's too difficult to announce every single one of them because there's quite a few. There's also quite a few events occurring through the different libraries throughout the city. Again, many of these can be found through the Recreation Department as well as the city manager's report. That's it.
Thank you. So we've got our guest speaker coming up, Ben Therriault. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We have one more speaker.
We do?
An introduction?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
She's under the panelist.
Yes.
What was her name?
It was El Cepeda from the city of Richmond.
Oh, Lizette.
Lisbeth Cepeda.
El Cepeda. She had her hand up.
And I see Michelle Milam has joined us as well. So, we'll get back to introductions here. And
Okay.
I just think it's time for Ben to come up and give us his presentation.
Yeah, but I got to read it.
Did you press the mic? No.
It turned red.
How about this?
Better.
That must be the right button. All right. Good evening, RNCC, and those joining from Zoom and KCRA. Thank you for asking us to come and give a presentation on the Richmond Police Officers Association. As I said earlier, my name is Ben Therriault. I'm the president of the Richmond POA, and I'm a police sergeant that works patrol on the streets Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So a lot of times we get questions on what is the RPOA, who's on it. And the RPOA is simply the labor union for all police officers and sergeants in the city of Richmond. And that's the vast majority of cops, especially the vast majority of cops that you're going to interact with on the street on a day-to-day basis. We're elected by all of our officers and sergeants within the police department. And I've displayed the POA board of directors there. And there's a lot of wealth of experience in law enforcement. We are a 501c5. We have a full board that's registered with the state of California, with the IRS, and overall there's 100 years of law enforcement experience that's been elected to the board. And they have offsetting years that were elected. That way there is always a continuum of knowledge that goes on as the years go by and people retire, promote, and the like. The POA is, like I said, a labor organization, but we have a strong commitment to public service and the well-being of our members. Our priority, our main job is to advocate, like every other labor union, for our members' wages, benefits, and working conditions. Wages and benefits are something that people are pretty familiar with. Working conditions can be a whole lot of things, can range from the spectrum. And it's our job to advocate for those folks. And we also believe, at the same time, while advocating for good working conditions, we believe in fostering a positive relationship with the Richmond community, law enforcement, and we think those things go hand in hand. If cops have safe working conditions and good working conditions, they will do a good job at protecting the public that we are required to serve. The POA contributes a lot of money to the community and volunteer hours. So we spend tens of thousands of dollars every year and hundreds of hours. And we think this is important in investing in the community and the people we serve. Many of our members, many officers and sergeants, all the way on up to the chief, are people who have lived in Richmond. Many people are from Richmond, even though they may not live here now. They have family connections. They are heavily rooted in our city. And they all volunteer their time. They donate significant amounts of money. We give to a lot of different nonprofits and charities within the city. Quite frankly, it's too many to list, but we're very active. People ask us all the time for help, and we do everything we possibly can in that fashion. We usually only report out to the police commission, the CPRC, and on those activities, and we really actually never give the full amount. A lot of things we just do it because it's the right thing to do. Obviously, talking about advocating, we believe in good developments for our police force, for the officers and sergeants. We believe in constructive negotiations with the city of Richmond and the city council to make sure that we have good compensation and good working conditions for officers. That's how we get the best and the brightest to come here. And that's who we also want to keep. And it's the goal of all of our activities in that regard, to make sure that we have good, valuable people who believe in service. And also we understand that the city of Richmond is not the Federal Reserve. It has different levels of fiscal responsibility it has to have, and the police officers, the POA, believe in that as well. And so our outcomes that we believe in are to make sure that they benefit the current and future officers, but that also are within reason and good for recruitment and retention. Oftentimes, especially in recent years, there's a lot of misconceptions and issues around trust. And we do our best to address and counter those misconceptions with the POA. by providing good examples of our dedication to justice, fairness, and community engagement. A lot of times that means advocating in public for those things and participating in many different things that the city puts on to show that we are, complete in line with the city's ideals. We also support the defense rights of our members and ensuring that everyone is entitled to due process, which is an American tenet, just like the folks who we contact. And in a law enforcement capacity, there is due process, as there should be. It's the most valuable American thing that we all believe in. And it's the same thing for officers who are involved in a type of issue. We believe that their legal rights need to be upheld, and we do our best to do that and celebrate the trust that we enjoy from the community that we see year after year in surveys that are either done by the city or done, sometimes we have conducted them ourselves as well. Your cops work very hard. It's a very challenging job in law enforcement. They do an extraordinary job in circumstances that are very, very difficult. We come across weapons, people who are in distress constantly. And it is a never-ending saga, and it is a very, very difficult job to be a police officer. Oftentimes people talk about how it's not a hard job in regards to, necessarily people losing their life, but I have lost track of the number of people who have had to medically retire out of this job because of injuries and the like. But then at the same time, like you see in the photos here, we have very dedicated and hardworking folks, and they really want to do a good job. They really want to make sure that they're working hard for the Richmond community. And if you follow the department's social media, if you follow the messages from the chief on down, you'll see that despite our many challenges and the challenges of law enforcement in the 21st century, the Richmond police officers do an extraordinary job. Over the past few years, we have had to do a whole lot more with less. When I started in the end of the 2000s, we had a recommended staffing level of almost 200. Now we're at 145. Of that 145, we have a double-digit amount of vacancies. That's something we're trying to work very hard on to fix and hopefully move forward on. That has come from many different ways. And so by doing more with less, the expectations, we want to do the same level of service that we all got into this job to provide, but sometimes it's very hard. And so I've attached this slide that shows this was done, a staffing report that was done by, was put on by council and asked to be put on a consent calendar and had to be put out in the public. But you can see here in what I've circled in red, in the square circle, we have a lot of recommended positions that we don't have, or you could say that we used to have. And so when it's very difficult out on the street talking to folks who are, hey, how come this isn't getting investigated? How come, the response time is taking so long for this and that? And a lot of it is, quite frankly, just staffing. And that not only a couple years ago, our staffing levels were at a higher level than they were now. Again, just continuing, especially in the investigative side and patrol, you see 21 positions that were recommended. And again, property crimes in general, I think a lot of those go unreported because folks are they know that there's not going to be looked into, especially if there's no suspect information. That's very frustrating. As someone who's, and like myself and the people that I work with, we've dedicated our lives to ensuring the victims of crime get their justice. And unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do based on the number of people that we have. So that's overall, the cops, the working police officers and sergeants, and everyone in RPD, thank you. We're very proud of the work that we do. If you want to have more specific conversations or if you want us to come to isolated RNCC meetings or different neighborhoods, more than happy to do that. And always happy to come back on something more specific. But this is a general overview of who we are, what we do, and the bottom line, it's really just the working men and women of RPD in the officer and sergeant ranks, and we're dedicated to ensuring that this community, our community, is safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any hands up or on Zoom, or anyone have any questions? Oh, Rock?
Yes. First of all, you said how many officers? Was 145 we have now? Do we?
So we don't have that many. We're authorized by the city to have 145 total sworn, and that's everybody. That's officers, sergeants, lieutenants, all the way up to the chief. But we don't have that many. We're probably just over 100 in total officers right now.
Oh, a little over 100. I think, I might quote me wrong, but is it Concord, population-wise, we're pretty similar to Concord? I think they were like around 110, 112,000, we're around 110, something like that. I would be curious how many officers, example, a city like that, comparable to us, how many officers they have versus what we have. And the reason why is because I know, as well as I know folks have been pushing, which is good that we have more, we have folks in the, that are trained in mental health and that sort of thing. There's a lot of use for that. But I also am very concerned that in order for us to do like we've had a lot of cities have in the past, in order for us to build that with our officers, for the children to have the opportunity for I wonder in the future, we hopefully will get more officers because that you have the ability for to send where they can come out and be more personable and you know, ride around the streets more, and that we can build that relationship.
Yeah, just to touch at the beginning of your question, the city of Concord is a larger city. I think it's larger than Richmond. And I don't know the comparables off the top of my head, and then furthermore to your point about are we being able to engage within a community level as much as we'd like? No, because unfortunately, a lot of times we're just going from call to call. A lot of, you know, the historical, you know, when we had more officers and we had a community policing framework, we were able to participate on a lot more things. And I think there was a good connection with that, which allows that kind of connection to young people. And I think it's really important because, I mean, the whole reason I got into law enforcement is that basically on that same lines. If it wasn't for interactions with law enforcement, positive interactions with law enforcement as a youth, then I would have never gone on the path that I got on. And I know there's many people. We have a Explorer program through the Richmond POW that we participate in. It was on a hiatus for a while, and that was because of COVID and the like, but that's been stand back up, and we're working on those things because that really draws children, you know, youth from the community, and which is a good thing and shows the positive aspects of this job. And also, I think there's some folks who would rather that we not have those positive interactions, but the reality is it's a good thing. It's healthy for our democracy. It's healthy for good law enforcement and good interactions with people in the police. And it's a net positive. So it's any way we can push and go towards that. And the POA is definitely for that. And I know the chief is 100% in that as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? If not, I have a few. Any online? Any hands up? Okay, well, I've got a few questions. I wanted to ask you, how has technology affected the RPOA? Has it been helpful, or I understand that you need more personnel, but is technology actually helping?
Absolutely. I think technology, you know, in all of our lives, it changes, it modifies society in a positive way. There are, you know, things that obviously come with all technological advances that are maybe of issue, but I think our ability to use our camera system, the changes that have come from that, those are extreme positives. They are, you know, what you might hear of the term force multiplier, and that just means, that's a parlance for just saying, hey, it allows us to be in many places at once. It's good for investigations. I think even the body cameras are a technological advance that help, you know, clear things up immediately. They don't show a 100% true perspective of an event, but they add to it. And then just the technology that we use in tracking crimes, how that works, the professional staff at the police department, how they help and play a role in helping us do our jobs better. I think all of that plays a role, and just the ability for the public to interact with the police department, whether it's online reporting, how they communicate. There's, the other night on Friday, we were able to solve a shooting that happened on 23rd Street, and because someone was able to use a text to 911 system, they were in the same room as the person who committed the shooting. And so from those two things, we were able to coordinate that together and make an arrest in the shooting. That's huge.
Yeah, thank you. And the other question is, how many beats do we have? I think we're 54, 52 square miles. So how many beats are within that 52 square miles, and how many officers per beat per shift?
There are 9 beats. Right now, there are 3 shifts that work during the week. There's a day shift, a swing shift, and a graveyard shift. And then on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's only 2 shifts. There's a day shift and a graveyard shift, and they work 12 and a half hours respectively. The shifts during the week work 4 10-hour shifts.
And then my last question is that on social media, I've seen several complaints about dispatchers answering the phone or people not being able to get through 911. How do we change that?
Hiring more dispatchers. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, because even I'm going to compare and contrast. This kind of goes back to your question about Concord and other cities. Well, our call volume, the services that were requested by the residents we have different levels of what is being requested, the types of incidents that are being reported, what type of resources those draw. Concord, other cities, Walnut Creek, they don't have that. They may have similar size and population, but they don't have the service need, or they don't have as many people asking for those services. So what happens is dispatch center, it gets inundated. It's gone through staffing issues for a while, had mandatory overtime, just like we have at the police department. And so what you're seeing is that frustration is coming from just, folks being overwhelmed, and they're trying to do everything they can. But, I'm in that dispatch center at least once a shift, and, they're working their tails off. But it's just a matter of, procedures, things they have to do, and then the inflow so that they can dispatch and get that out.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Lori?
You mentioned the cameras and those being so vital in reducing and/or solving crime. And I was wondering if there was an ETA on when those would be rolling out throughout certain neighborhoods?
That would definitely be more of a question for the command staff or the chief. I know the POA is a huge support of that. I personally came here and advocated for it at the council. I would like them, as I'm sure they would yesterday, but the more the better. And the younger police officers are even better at using technology than myself, and they incorporate it in their investigations and how they complete them, what they do all the time. And we will see good dividends from that, and hopefully people will take notice that, and I think work against this mantra that Richmond has as you can just do whatever and there's no consequences. So I think there's a lot of good things to come with that. It's just we need to get them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know you guys may get tired of hearing this, but again, I want to compliment you on the decrease in the homicides in 2023. Just an awesome job. And it's also an awesome testimony, for all of us, that you did more with less. We've been asking everybody to do more with less, and RPD, under the great leadership of Captain French, did it. And I think we all could take a lesson from that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions?
I have one.
Jen?
Hi. Has the city ever done a side-by-side comparison on what you guys are being paid to what comparable cities, or just in general? I take BART a lot, and you see these big ads for BART. Oh, you can start out making this much money, or they've got, I've heard some cities have $60,000 signing bonuses kind of thing, which just seems, kind of crazy. And I understand it's a tough situation to be in, and, whoever pays the most money, is likely to get more people working for them. And I think it's important that they do that. And the other thing is, I work a lot with the 23rd Street Task Force, which would be 24th Street Task Force now. And we would love to have some cameras on 24th Street. That 5 blocks, I mean, it's not very big, but it would be sure helpful. Because I know where you guys, our hands are tied on a lot of that stuff, but yeah, we would appreciate it.
No, definitely. I mean, there's some frustrations there with state law. If we, again, had more resources, I think there's a lot more enforcement activity that we could do instead of just knee-jerk reaction. And long-term, I hope we get back to that, because in the past, I've participated in that, and it does help. It's just, you have to do it consistently and for a long period of time. And then I think the cameras will definitely help in working on the folks who, one, perpetrate that type of human trafficking, and the people who participate in it as well, because there's two sides of that. As far as negotiations and compensation, like I said earlier, we're very cognizant of the city's finances. I pay attention to them, as well as the board of directors and other cops. We pay attention to it like hawks. And we keep tabs and we keep track. We pay outside folks to review the city's finances, because quite frankly, a lot of time, our perception of that in the past has not been very, very good. But and just how the city, reports its finances. So we pay attention to that a lot. I will say there's been several times too where the city was in dire straits, where we took a pass on receiving raises and other things. And we did that because, again, it was in the best interest of the city, which is also in the best interest of our members. Comparably speaking, even the last negotiations, the last contract, all that simply did was brought our wages up to the median level in the Bay Area of our comparable cities. It didn't go beyond. It brought us right up to the middle in that place in time. And that's kind of what you see when we go to negotiations, is a snapshot of that. There are always people who say, oh, people are getting paid too much and this and that. It's a marketplace. It's just that simple. I don't know if I necessarily believe in the huge bonuses and all that, if that's a panacea, but we've tried other things like the vehicle program that the council passed, and that was championed by the chief and others. And I think that's been a very positive thing that sets us apart. And so we look for those types of things as well.
Rock, you have a question?
Yes, fast. What Janet just mentioned, because 24th Street, what happens there, we had that years ago on San Pablo Avenue, right there where the little hotel is. I used to ask back then, we'd have the officers, I'd say, hey, build a relationship and say, would you do when you have your, you don't get a lot of downtime, when you do your reports and stuff, if you're in the area, can you kind of make that a spot to do your reports? And I'm not kidding you. They started doing, or Taggart's, our Red Wing was, they started doing the reports in there, and slowly it made them uncomfortable enough that it actually slows it. Personally, I thought it slowed it up.
Right.
Just to throw an idea out there.
No, it's a great idea. It's actually, as a supervisor, I can tell you that that's something we encourage people to do a lot. You might see, why are these cops sitting around? They're probably writing reports. And so to have them move around and do security checks in different areas is something that we encourage and we try to get people to do, because that, again, people say, well, cops don't, I've heard this a million times, cops don't prevent crime. That's absolutely garbage. Of course they do. You don't know, I can't count how many times I've seen people, or I've talked to people who are career criminals, people who that's what they do. And they said, yeah, I was going to do this, and then I saw it black and white, and I was going to go the other way. I'm going to do something else. So all that's helpful. It's all part of the working way of, ensuring good law enforcement. So we try to do that as best we can.
Well, I want to thank you for your presentation. And before we let you go, is there anything you'd like to say in closing, or anything you'd like to add? Or?
No, just thank you for the opportunity. We would love to speak to, if different councils want to hear us individually, more than happy to do that. The officers, when they come out and talk to you, can't really talk in the same type of vein. They're there, doing their job and talking about things as regards to the department of the city, whereas a labor representative can talk in a whole different, wide variety of issues like I'm doing tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So moving on, before we get to the department heads, we're still trying to work out the kinks because this is the second time that we've been up here in the chambers. So I did see some speaker cards come up, so perhaps we can call on the speakers to come up here. I think Congressman Garamendi's office is
Correct.
first.
We have Harpreet Sandhu from Congressman Garamandi's office. He'll be followed by Othara Christian on the school board update, and then the beautiful Michelle Milam will follow him after that.
Very good.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Again, Harpreet Singh Sandhu with Congressman Garamendi's office. I just want to make sure I came here today and represent and present the accommodation that was received to the neighborhood council, coordinating council for the NAACP Community Service Award. So if you allow me to quickly read this, what was written in the accommodation. Congressional accommodation presented in honor of Richmond Neighborhood Coordinating Council in recognition of their NAACP Community Service Award, which was presented on February 3rd, 24. It is my pleasure to recognize Richmond Neighborhood Coordinating Council as they are honored tonight by NAACP branch with a Community Service Award. The RNCC was founded as a neighborhood council, rose to help advocate and serve people in Richmond's neighborhood. Neighborhood councils have risen to the occasions and made significant historical strides, like Parchester Village, which was the first neighborhood to allow Blacks individuals to purchase homes. Pullman neighborhood, another neighborhood that added to the growing neighborhood council, had the International Hotel, where Black train porters organized their first union. Numerous neighborhood councils have made historical advancements, and Richmond residents continue to reap the benefits of these councils. On behalf of California's 8th Congressional District, please accept my sincere gratitude for your dedication to this community, as well as best wishes for your success and happiness in the years ahead. Signed, Congressman John Garamendi, Member of Congress of the 8th Congressional District. So, Chairman, if I may just present this to you, if you would allow me to.
Yes, thank you. Should I come around here?
Thank you, thank you.
Any more awards, we can allow some more speakers.
Thank you. And oh yeah, thank you. I'd like to remind everyone, this is for all the neighborhood councils, all the heroes and sheroes that work so hard as volunteers to make things happen in their neighborhoods. Thank you, and thank you, Congressman, and thank you, Harpreet, for the recognition. We appreciate it. Thank you. Next speaker.
Once again, good evening to all of you, and I appreciate, allowing me the opportunity to just give you a brief update. And I just want to say, to the RNCC and all the neighborhood councils, I've been there with you guys back in the day, and the trenches back in 2005 all the way up to 2016. And I enjoy, being the neighborhood council president of the Iron Triangle, and I know the hard work that each and every one of you do in your neighborhoods. I appreciate that because I was one at once upon a time. So, but just briefly, just giving an update on the West Country Costa Unified School District. I'm just glad to be here. What I'm going to start doing is start coming to give updates, what's going on with the school district, that if you have any questions or anything you need to ask of us, that I'll be able to, bring that information and present it to you. We have several things that are about to take place in the district. Is the rebuilding or remodelization of the schools, such as Kennedy, Steege, and Richmond High School. And so, I think the first one will be Kennedy, starting in June, this coming June. So, and they'll be placing the students from the old building into the new building. I mean, not new building, but in the portables until the school is remodeled. So a lot of the different projects is going to be getting started, and so from that, with the school district, when we came out of COVID, the attendance seemed like a lot of people moved away, a lot of people went other places, but our enrollment dropped tremendously. And so what that has done is it has put a strain on the district. And now that our attendance is dropped, now we are going through what is called budget crisis, and a lot of things are about to take place for far as job cuts and so forth. And so in March 15th, which the notice will be going out as far as jobs, like layoffs. And that's one of the hurtful things, because it's like, man, and pretty much a lot of the school districts throughout the state of California are going through a lot of crisis right now. And so, so hopefully we can win the lotto, maybe, bring money in, but hopefully the state, the state going through crisis too, with its budget crisis. So we don't know what we're going to, as the state will be able to give towards the school system for the state of California. So there's a lot of different things that we're doing in the project. I mean, in the district is to, we're working on the community schools. We're working on bringing about the community schools, looking at how we can bring our alumni back into our schools, because every school has alumni that have graduated and going on and doing greater works, but it's just like you bring your alumni back, make them part of your schools, such as Kennedy and Richmond High and El Cerrito, DA and Pinole and Hercules and so forth, coming back and to help their school sites. So we're working on several things, and so I just wanted to come this evening to just give that brief update on what's going on. And like I say, I will be getting back and coming here and giving updates.
If it's okay, guys, 03 question. 03, just went really fast. You may have iterated on it. You brought up Kennedy. If you said the dates exactly, what date did you say if they start construction on Kennedy, and when is the target date to finish? Most important.
Well, they're looking at June. Like when school is out.
Year.
What's that now?
This year.
Yeah, 2024.
Start. And then
Yeah, like June. So what they're gonna do is put them in portables, because like in the fall when they come back to school, they will be in portables.
What's their target date to finish?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
So that's up in the air now.
5 years, 10 years. Okay.
Somewhere.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And I'd like to tell everybody that's listening or is interested in volunteering for the school district, because right now they can use all the help they can get. You do need to call the district, and they do a background check before you can start volunteering. So that's very important. Next speaker.
We're going to have Michelle Milam and then Sophia Tupulo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is going to give us an announcement about a community research and some findings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you through the chair, Michelle Milam, Richmond Police Department Crime Prevention Manager. First of all, thank you for having us, and thank you for inviting the Richmond Police Officers Association. I think it's very important for people to understand what our staffing levels look like. We get a lot of questions from neighborhoods of what it looks like, not only for calls for service for crime, but also for quality of life. I know that was a big part of community policing. So, the issues of the illegal dumping and the other things that go on in the neighborhoods that we see all the time, it definitely makes a difference when we have staffing. And it's important to recognize that there's been a lot of work done for new hires, but it's also important for us to recognize that we do have retirements and injuries and other things that are ongoing in our city. So while we're hiring, we still have sometimes service gaps. So we want to make sure that the neighborhoods do understand that, and it's great to get perspective on that. A few quick things I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much through the chair. I know that the mayor's office did reach out because in addition to working on crime prevention, I'm part of the city's interdepartmental unhoused task force. And so we do work on homelessness throughout the city. So there's a lot of things going on there. As you probably have seen, it's been very, very wet. Very, very wet. We've had 2 atmospheric rivers that our new OES manager, Richard Diaz, informed us about. And there's a couple of things that we're trying to do as a city. One is, just so you know, the county shelters are 105% capacity. So what that means for all the neighborhood groups who call me and say, hey, Michelle, we have an encampment over here on Hoffman. We have an encampment here on 47th Street. We have an encampment here over on the Caltrans property. We do work with all of those public agencies. You have to be able to, if the individual wants to have a shelter bed, offer them one. And right now, with the county beds being full to 105% capacity, we don't have things to offer them. So the city stepped up to the plate and allocated some additional ARPA funds in addition to some of the state grant funds. And we're hoping to bring online additional bed space through our Encampment Resolution 2 funding that's coming from the state of California, and also the ARPA funds, which will be emergency housing funds, so that if I go to Encampment X and there's someone there who says, you know, I do need a bed, I want a bed, we'll be able to offer it. We come across a lot of people who have illnesses that are disabled. I have people who have congestive heart failure, spinal surgery, and they really don't have a place to go and they need intensive services. And housing is important, and it's an important part of our strategy. We do have funding in that $8.6 million new grant to provide housing, but it's also important that we provide mental health services and drug addiction services, all kinds of recovery services to be able to help people maintain their housing, because you can't put people into housing and not have them be able to maintain it. So it takes a lot to do that, but I just wanted to let you know, we do keep a list of all the encampments in the neighborhood. So if there is an encampment that's happening in your neighborhood, please feel free to report it. You can also let me know. I will include it in the weekly update. I do an update every Friday of all the encampments that I know about that are hotspots in the city. And we make sure that Carr goes out and makes contact to try to offer services and shelter first. I am the manager of the Carr Outreach Grant, contract. And so if there are issues that you have in your neighborhood that you want to share, feel free to contact me or email me. The second thing is that we're always on the lookout for things to be able to offer people. Some of those things come through the grant, but some things are not covered. So for example, we have a bunch of different contracts. One we have with the Richmond Community Foundation to offer emergency hotel motel services. We're working on trying to get more of the needs of those clients met. But sometimes those clients might need something like as simple as a food card. They might need something as simple as socks. They might need an emergency stabilization piece. When Carr goes out or some of the other organizations go out, sometimes being able to offer that will be the difference between somebody talking to you and somebody not talking to you. And if you've ever made contact with somebody who's unhoused, you know if you offer a kindness, they never forget it. And you develop a relationship with them. And that makes a difference sometimes when you say, hey, I understand you don't have a place to stay, but can you not be right in front of the community center? So having those little things that you can hand out is great. So please, if you think you have something to donate, let us know. We're trying to set up the best way to be able to do that. And thank you to Arto for letting me know that the mayor's office did reach out to you on behalf of some of those items, and we'll be working with them to kind of solidify that so that you're clear, because I know a lot of you do that kind of work, how that gets done. The final thing I wanted to share is that we do have block captain training that's upcoming, which is important because we do have active neighborhood watches, several hundred throughout the city. And they meet, some of them meet online, some of them meet in person, but the most important thing is their neighbors getting to know each other, you know, forming a block watch group, connecting with their beat officers, connecting with the police department. You know, in the Magnus years, and I came in the Magnus years, we had over 200 officers. We don't have that anymore. So we really need neighborhood groups to share that information with us so that we can work with the police department to identify some of those hot spots and those target places. Officers have something called beat projects that they're assigned, so they can actually assign projects within the beat based upon calls for service. But sometimes we take a look at, like, a neighborhood may say, hey, all this stuff is happening, and we look at, you know, the call log and we find like nobody's calling in on it. They're calling their neighborhood council president, which I know you guys are the unsung heroes, but they're not calling the police. So we want to be able to help train people, give people the tools to be able to work with us. We have that training that's coming up on the 28th of February. It's going to be on Zoom from 6 to 7:30 p.m. People are welcome to join. It's a great way to fast track your neighborhood watch group. If you have a neighborhood watch group that went to neighborhood watch heaven during COVID, they can come and they can get revived. We will provide that information. So I just wanted to share that with you. If anyone would like to reach out to me regarding any of these issues for the unhoused, and I'd like to come and give a presentation about that and crime prevention whenever you guys are ready, please feel to email me at mmilam@richmondpd.net or give me a call at 510-620-6546. Thank you.
Do you have time for a few questions? Are there any questions online, or? Jan has a couple and I have a couple, so Jan?
Michelle, Motel 6?
Yes, so we did apply, the city applied for a home key grant to be able to obtain the Motel 6 and turn it into 50 units of permanent supportive housing. We haven't heard back from the state yet, so we're still hopeful, but we also are looking at other options to be able to acquire that property. There also are other properties that are interested regionally in being able to be used for permanent supportive housing. So one of the things that we hope to do is to engage some of our partner cities and being able to acquire some of these properties, because everyone has the same kind of challenges. So we know that the winter comes every year. We know that we need permanent supportive housing where people who may not be able to ever afford rent, right, and need some services to go, we can identify some of those spaces. So knock on wood, we're still hopeful, but we haven't heard back.
In the past, I'm going back quite a few years, the National Guard space on Carlson, didn't we ever use that for housing and, okay, I'm not.
You're not forgetting. Actually, when Chief Shepherd was here, he recommended us considering that space again. I'm not sure why that actually was taken off the list of consideration for sites, but I will bring it back up again with our housing staff.
Yeah, I'm thinking, it's kind of an empty space that's not really being used most of the time. I rarely see anybody around there, so.
Okay, well, my questions are, when you spoke about the clothing, will you accept gently used clothing? It doesn't necessarily have to be new, or?
We can accept gently used clothing. The only thing I do tell people is, like, we have people of different sizes and stuff like that. So yeah, if you have something that might be something that you think we can need, let us know, and then we'll basically coordinate with you on that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know some folks that have passed away and they just want to clean out their closets, and also I wanted to thank you. I know you've helped me out on a few cases where we had some elderly folks that were homeless, and then elder abuse. I was wondering, do we still report elder abuse to you, or?
Well, if you have elder abuse, that is a crime, so I would report that actually to dispatch to come and do a welfare check, but you can always follow up with me, and I'm happy to connect you with the Family Justice Center. We do have the Family Justice Center. They work on elder abuse prevention, and we can work with them on that. It's sad, but I see that happen a lot, where people are just mistreated, and if you think that that's happening, that's part of the reason we have the Family Justice Center, so I'll definitely connect people to that.
Thank you. Any more questions? Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Next speaker.
She's coming. Sophia?
Hi, folks. My name is Sophia Tupuola. I am from Bayview Hunters Point in San Francisco. Right now, I work with Reflex Design Collective, and we're currently the equity consultants for the MTC Wayfinding project. So MTC is the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and they oversee the 9-county public transportation. And so we've been on a bit of a pause, but they're looking to have a prototype. Sorry, y'all. They're looking to have a wayfinding prototype at the Del Norte BART station, and us at Reflex Design Collective, we're looking to put the most impacted community members into those like decision-making spaces. So like looking for community researchers to participate in like in analyzing this first prototype design. And so I'm here today. Nothing has started yet. We've been on this pause with MTC. I'm really just here to be in community. I'll be at a bunch of, like, I'm gonna go to this Black History Month walk on Saturday in Pinole, in Richmond. Yeah, and so I'm just here to get to know y'all, be in community. I'm from the city. And so, yeah, if y'all have any questions.
Tell us a little bit more about what this this program does, and you said it's research. So what exactly are they going to be putting up at the El Cerrito do Norte?
So for wayfinding, they're mostly just trying to harmonize the public transit systems across the 9-county Bay Area. And so that's mostly like through signage. And when you think about who's most impacted by that challenge, you'll think about folks who, where English is not their first language, or folks with disabilities and like blindness. And so it's getting those folks, and especially folks from this community in like Richmond, in this area, into that space to really like support on how this, you know, like, does this work for your community? If not, like, what would be the best option that you would recommend? And how can we work together with this agency to make it, like, to make it happen if we can?
So do we have any other questions?
Fascinating. Did you say you're from Bayview Hunter Point, or you live here now?
No, I'm with Reflex, who is based out of Oakland, Reflex Design Collective, who's the equity consultant. And we are in Richmond because the prototype is gonna be at the Del Norte BART station. And like, as Richmond just really serves some of the most impacted members of society who utilize that station.
The reason why I say that is because there's so many people from San Francisco that have gentrified over here.
Yeah.
You're at home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the San Francisco already here.
Oh, right.
So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your presentation. We greatly appreciate it. Is there contact information or a website for people listening?
I think they're looking to launch, we're looking to launch by the spring of this year. And the website should come, you know, hopefully I'll be back with that launching website, but I've left my email. It's sophia@reflexdc.com, and can share more information about myself to talk to folks who are interested online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I know that the department heads are waiting, so let's move on to Public Works. Is Carlos Castro on the online?
I don't know if you can hear me, but I am online.
I can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Carlos Castro from the City of Richmond Streets Maintenance Division, supervisor for the paving crew, signs and lines crew, and the sweeper crew. A couple quick updates. Give me 1 second so I can change my view. Okay. A couple quick updates. The paving crew right now, with the bad weather that we're having, we're mainly doing potholes or Class A patches. We have installed a couple of the traffic controlling measures. The latest one was speed humps on State Ave and South 49th Street. We're also trying to make an effort to at least once a week pothole our main thoroughfares like Richmond Parkway, Cutting Boulevard, Barrett, McDonald's, San Pablo Ave. We're trying to go there at least once a week because the rain, we fill the potholes, but the rain's pretty much just going to wash them out again. So we have to go back and keep filling them over and over again. We do have one more traffic calming measure that is the engineering has issued the work order. We're working to schedule that. That's going to be another set of 3 speed humps that are going to be on South 55th Street in the city limits. And as soon as this weather clears up, we will be right back to paving. We have our list. Our list is ever evolving and ever changing. We're constantly adding more streets to it. As long as we're in control of it, there might be eventually in the future a program that takes over called Street Saver. But right now it's us in-house that is in control of the paving list. So as soon as we get some better weather, we'll be right back to paving. For the street sweepers, next Monday, the 19th, is a holiday, President's Day. There won't be any street sweeping that day. Other than that, we're on our normal schedule, again, unless it rains. If it is raining too heavy, then our street sweeper crew will come back to the yard and they'll assist in making sandbags and delivering sandbags. Luckily, we do have one of the only rental sweepers that's in the state, because we have one sweeper in the shop, but because we have that rental sweeper, we're able to keep sweeping on our normal schedule. The sign shop, we have all new signs on 23rd Street. There's maybe a handful of signs that we have to do to complete that project. There's a school sign at 23rd and Brooks, but we've also started installing all new street sweeping signs and 2-hour parking signs on San Pablo Ave, basically from Lowell to El Cerrito city limits. That part is done. We've printed out the new street name signs. We just haven't fabricated all of them yet, but that's our next big project, is to have all new street name signs down San Pablo Ave. A lot of those street name signs are really old and really faded. You can't see them. So that's you'll start seeing those go up soon. And then the sign shop is also working on the traffic calming measures, following the paving crew with the speed humps. That's all the updates that I have. I'm open to any questions.
Any hands up in the virtual world? No. Well, I have a question. They did talk about the street sweeping signs during a city council meeting, and there was a question as to size, what size, but I think what's more important to the neighborhood councils is that the messaging on the signs is universal, so that if it doesn't say one thing in one neighborhood and another thing in another neighborhood, is that how it looks to you, Carlos?
So the plan right now is to make sure that all of the city neighborhoods are signed. I believe there's 16 neighborhoods that are not signed. And before the sweeping citations can begin again, city council wants to have everything in the city signed so that it's fair and equitable. As far as the signs, the older city practices says that the sign has to be an 18 by 24 inch sign, but I know there's some neighborhoods that only have a 12 by 18 sign. So I don't know how those were installed, because those were installed before I was supervisor. So I don't know how those ones were 18 or were 12 by 18s and not 18 by 24s. But as far as the language on the sign, no matter what size it is, the language will be the same. It'll be, whether it's the first or second Monday, it'll have the RMC code and it'll have the time.
It'll say either towing or no towing, or?
Correct. It'll all be the same.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Garland has a question.
You mentioned replacing the signs along San Pablo Avenue going towards Richmond. Does that include the streets that are in the annex, even though San Pablo Avenue in that area is controlled by El Cerrito?
If it's El Cerrito, we won't install it if it's on the El Cerrito city limits. So on San Pablo Avenue, we basically stop where pretty close to the BART tracks underpass, a little bit before Home Depot. And we go back the other way towards Lowell, towards Ream, but Lowell is our last street.
Okay.
Well, thank you for your presentation, and have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Oh, real quick before I leave, I'll put the phone number for sandbags. We are expecting another week's worth of rain. I'll put the phone number for sandbag delivery for senior citizens or anybody that's disabled, and I'll leave my email address also.
And could you say that out loud so people listening can write it down, just in
Sure.
case they can't? Thank you.
The phone number for for sandbag delivery is 510-231-3011.
Thank you.
No problem. You guys have a good night.
You too. Okay, moving on. RPD, is Lieutenant Decious available?
Yes, sir. How are you guys this evening?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. My camera's on the fritz, so we're just going to go verbal tonight. Make it short and sweet. So I'll go over some statistics for January of 2024. Now, we did have a homicide in January. The only good part about that is it was solved. We have an arrest and charges were filed. So that is an uptick, unfortunately, from December. Sexual assaults, and this is going to be citywide just to start with. Sexual assaults are down 70%. Our robberies are up about 12%. Aggravated assaults up about 8%, and burglaries down 10%. When we dive into that a little bit closer, when we come to districts, our Southern District has everything as decreases. Our sexual assaults are down 100%, robberies down 45%, aggravated assaults are down 3%, and burglaries down 20%. So the officers in the Southern District are doing an outstanding job. Central District, we have no change in terms of homicides. It's 0 and 0. No change for sexual assaults. It's a 0%. We did unfortunately go up about 100% for robberies from 6 to 12. Several of those have been street robberies of individuals walking and then getting contacted by perpetrators and robbed that way. Aggravated assaults are up 3%, and then burglaries are down 14%. For the Northern District, we did have that one homicide. Sexual assaults, are down 50%. We have robberies down 25%, aggravated assaults up 37%, and then no change for burglaries. So overall, our numbers are looking much better than the previous month, and still it appears as though they're trending downward. A couple of things. First, I want to thank Sergeant Therriault for his presentation today. Me being a former member of the POA, I appreciate his work there. In terms of staffing, we are down right now 26 sworn positions, and that's of our 144 allowed, or actually 145 allowed. We have 5 in the academy right now, and we have 7 currently in training. So officers who have graduated the academy and are in the field training portion of work. We've been blessed now when we are fully staffed in our parking enforcement. So we have 6 parking enforcement personnel. Our last employee started last week, and she started her actual training on the street this week. So hopefully at some time later this year, towards the later end of this year, I'll be discussing this with Carlos quite a bit in Public Works about getting the street sweeping and the citations back up and running. I'm currently in several meetings with Cinco de Mayo planning, so that is going to be coming up here in the next several months. And I want to just touch on one thing that Sergeant Therriault said about new officers and kind of meeting their stakeholders within the community. So that's one thing that several sergeants here actually have newer officers do, is to get out, go to stores, go to liquor stores, businesses, introduce themselves, and get their names, offer them their work phone numbers. So we do have that investment and that relationship with those with who we serve. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you guys if you have any questions.
Any questions? Any questions online? Jan has a question.
Lieutenant Decious, have they finished moving everyone around? So if I call in finding out who my beat officer is, I can get them to come to my meetings?
Yes. So as of, I believe it was January 6th was when we did our shift change. So now we have, most everybody is where they're supposed to be. There might be a little bit of movement here and there, but for the majority, we are where we need to be. So you'll have some consistency, at those meetings. Absolutely.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Any in the audience?
Jim Hansen.
Jim, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. I caught Michelle's talk on the ATM smash and grabs, and that was really, really helpful. We shared that with our neighborhood council. I was just curious if there was any update on, controlling that or any other thoughts.
So the biggest thing for that, I'm going to say, is situational awareness and just being aware of your surroundings. I would recommend if you're going to the ATM, don't do it, in the hours of the night if you don't have to be, but just understanding kind of your surroundings, the situational awareness. It's a crime of opportunity, and unfortunately, a lot of the people, a lot of the suspects that are committing these crimes are utilizing cars that are either stolen or don't have license plates. So actually identifying them makes it extremely difficult. So I can basically just say it's going to be just be aware of your surroundings. And if you have to, go with somebody else.
I'd like to reiterate, I'd like to say too, that if you happen to be in a store that is being robbed by many, many people, don't try and stop it. Just stay out of the way.
I will second that. Just be the best witness that you can possibly be. So then when the police show up and we need to get information in terms of description, just be the best witness that you can. That's a great point. Thank you.
That answer your question, Jim? Okay.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Are there any last questions? No? Seeing none, I want to thank you, Lieutenant Decious, and we're going to move on to fire.
Thank you.
Anyone here from the fire department?
Yes. Fire Chief Michael E. Smith, Interim Fire Chief for the City of Richmond. Welcome. Well, I'm glad to be with you this evening. So I just wanted to give you a report on our staffing. We hired an emergency services manager, Richard Diaz. He's been on board since since December, and he's doing a marvelous job with managing our emergency services issues. He's rebuilding that department, which had been vacant for a number of months. So he's doing a great job there. We have promoted 3 fire inspectors that have been on board about a month now. So they're getting, comfortable in their new roles as fire inspectors. So we are really starting to move our fire prevention bureau. We did, however, lose our fire marshal. Eric Govan resigned last week, and he left for another position with another department. So he'll be greatly missed after his nearly 20 years on the job. We also promoted a fire captain from the rank of engineer, and we have 9 new recruits in our recruit academy. They're in their now 3rd week of the academy. The 3rd of 14 weeks. So we're looking forward to getting them fully trained and out in the field to fill our vacant positions. So we have a lot going on, a lot of things moving in the fire department, and we're really excited about getting back on track and getting things going. And that'll conclude my report. Are there any questions?
Any questions online? No. Any here in the audience? The only question I have is when am I going to see that Chevy?
I'm working to get the engine back in the car. So as soon as I get it in there, you'll see it.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for your report.
Sure thing.
Next, we have the mayor's office. Shiva still on? Thank you. Shiva?
It's not Shiva, but we have somebody that's standing in.
No, that's Samantha. So it's Shiva. Yeah,
Here she is.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
I'm sorry for replacing you, Shiva.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be with you all again, this time online. Let me just pull up my notes. So we wanted to first just note the loss of former Richmond Mayor Irma Anderson. We learned of her passing on January 29th, after which we flew the flag at half-mast for the day. As many of you know, she was the first Black woman to hold a seat on Richmond City Council, and was the first Black woman elected as mayor in the city of Richmond, and had left a rich legacy of service to our city. And the city will be putting on in probably late February a life service to Mayor Irma Anderson. And so we will be providing updates as that develops. So we wanted to acknowledge her passing. And we also wanted to acknowledge the passing of community member Steve Bischoff, who was super involved in the May Valley Neighborhood Council and was also on the Public Safety Task Force. So we've had 2 losses in the past month that we are certainly thinking of the families right now at the mayor's office. On the celebratory side, we are excited about Black History Month and all of the events going on in the city. One of them has already been mentioned in this meeting. All of the events that are going on in our city can be found on our city's website. We are also, the city's having a Black History celebration on February 24th at the Richmond Memorial Auditorium. You can also find more information on the city's website. And we, over the past month since I saw you all, we have been fortunate enough in the mayor's office to celebrate 3 different New Year's celebrations. We just attended the Chinese Lunar New Year celebration, and also with the Nepali Association New Year celebration, and also the Lao celebration for New Year. So there's been a lot going on over the past month, and we've been out in the community as much as possible. Our staff also and the mayor wanted to welcome the new president of the Laurel Park Neighborhood Council, Crystal Barton. We were really honored that we got an invite to the Laurel Park Neighborhood Council. As was shared earlier, my deputy chief of staff, Tony Tamayo, attended that meeting, and it was really helpful to hear about the concerns of that particular neighborhood council. Some things that were discussed were playground maintenance and also street sweeping. And if I have time, I can go into some updates we have on street sweeping, some substantial ones. So that was really helpful, and our office welcomes any invitation to a neighborhood council meeting to hear about the concerns of constituents. Another announcement is that on February 6th, the city relaunched the e-bike program, and in partnership with Ride Today. And so now there are 40 bikes in 6 stations placed around the city, and they're very open to more feedback on where these stations and bikes can be placed. And so these will be part of a bike share system that people can use across the city. And any other updates? I had a long list, so maybe it's actually good that I'm not finding my list right now, because I could go on way too long. 2 more things that I wanted to mention is, as we've shared before, the mayor is particularly interested in revitalizing the Port of Richmond, looking into ways that we can develop it to a maritime hub, a green economic hub. And so as part of that project, with the new port director, the mayor and the port director and myself in one case, and the mayor's policy director in another case, have been visiting ports, nearby ports. We went to the Port of Stockton and also Port of Redwood City to learn about what their staffing levels look like, what sort of import and export business that they are working on and investing, and to see where we can even work together with other ports to create some synergies and build up our economic activity in Richmond. And then the last thing I'll say is that in partnership with the city manager's office and council member Sohaila Bana, we have begun reestablishing our relationship or beginning to strengthen our relationship with UC Berkeley. So we are looking at having ongoing conversations about better understanding, for instance, the research that UC Berkeley is doing in Richmond and how we can use any research done to build more policy in Richmond. We're also wanting to engage in conversations around the Richmond Field Station, and just in general, how we can work more closely with the university. So that's a relationship that we're really starting to pay closer attention to, and we will be meeting more frequently over the coming months, particularly as the university brings in a new chancellor in June, I believe it is. So I could go on for a long time, so I'll pause there because in case there are any questions about anything I mentioned or anything else.
Do we have any questions online? No? How about in-house? Garland?
Shiva, actually, Willie Brown was on the radio and referring to trying to coordinate a commission that would bring San Francisco's ports, Oakland's ports, and they even mentioned Richmond's ports together to work in conjunction so that they could all help each other. He didn't think that it would happen very easily because you have too many different agencies involved, but it's something that you might reach out and talk to Willie Brown and see what his ideas are.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you so much, and appreciate that suggestion. Part of the project we're working on, to give a little bit of context, is we have an interdepartmental team. We're really grateful to the city manager for giving us so much time with her staff, where we are interviewing multiple stakeholders across the city and different agencies around the Bay Area and even in California, because as you mentioned, it is so complex. There's so many different agencies involved, tenants, and then also interviewing staff within the city that have that knowledge, that historical knowledge about the port. So maritime is very complicated, I'm learning. And so suggestions like that are incredibly helpful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a couple questions. So I'm a board member on West County Wastewater, and I know that we're getting ready to dissolve the JPA, the Joint Powers Agreement. And my question is, for all those other neighborhoods that are further down south from me, where do you stand with Veolia? Is the stink gone?
That's a good, so I am summoning my diplomat here. This stink may be gone for now, and we're hoping it's gone as long as possible. We have been closely working to look at, how do I talk about this? My understanding is the stink is gone. We're expecting it to come back. We're hopeful it won't. And we are in the mayor's office incredibly committed to, every time we hear about the stink, to look at what's going on. The issue we have with many different companies in Richmond, not just Veolia, but many companies that impact our air quality, is that often what the reports we get on what causes it do not contain a root cause analysis. So we get a sort of, we get a press release of what a company says causes the stench. Luckily, we have on our staff, as I've mentioned before, a former Chevron refinery operator, BK White, who's our policy director, who actually is considered an international expert in process safety management and has written manuals for refineries across the world on how to analyze, how to figure out what went wrong and why. And so a lot of this expertise can actually be applied to not just refineries, but plants in general, like Veolia. And the issue we are seeing when we get these rulings about what happened to, whether it be flaring, the stink, et cetera, is that we're not really getting any answers on why these things happen. We'll kind of get the one cause down, but not really okay, so what actually caused this to happen and how can it be prevented in the future? So that's a long answer to say that our understanding is that stink that, that city council called an emergency session for is not currently going on. But until we get more accountability and more process clarity, it will likely be a recurring issue.
Thank you. If there's any other questions?
Cordell? Cordell?
Well, moving on, thank you for your presentation. Greatly appreciated. And I guess we'll move on to the city manager's office. That would be Lizette.
Oh, no.
Yes. Could you guys hear me?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you guys. And I apologize for causing all this confusion tonight, but you normally would see Samantha. She wasn't able to make it. And as a team member, I thought I would pitch in and help her out. My name is Lizette Zepeda. I work as a senior business assistance officer in the economic development department. And tonight I have a few items to share on behalf of the department. So first up, we have the Neighborhood Public Art, which is short for NPA mini grant, is open. So the deadline to enter into this mini grant is February 18th. And I will also be sharing a link to the grant. And then we did have on January 18th, we had a vendor workshop. And this vendor workshop was for businesses that were interested in doing business with the city of Richmond. And so we had a lot of collaborative partners like UC Berkeley, the school district. It was very well attended. It was both online and here at the chambers. And it was something that would be more to come in regards to having a collaborative effort and more information sharing in regards to how to become a vendor with the city. There was already an update on the MLK Day. So there's MLK Day of Service in Richmond. We do have the flyer and I'm able to share that with you guys tonight. I'll put it in the chat if that's okay. There is a request for proposals for services related to the City of Richmond's and the City of San Pablo's solid waste collection agreement. This is now open and all interested respondents must attend a pre-bid meeting. Oh, it looks like there's a date for the pre-bid meeting and the RFP closes March 15th, 2024. And I also share a link to that as well. There was also a request for proposal for consulting services establishing an arts district, and that RFP looked like it closed February 2nd, so I just wanted to share that information, and that was in our arts and cultural division. And there's the iHeart Richmond resource guide that has been launched. The documents, I will attach it from a link from the environmental and health initiatives. And I also wanted to say that the business division of economic development is partnered with the Small Business Development Center. And SBDC is short, and they have a summit of workshops that is currently going on February 7th to April 25th. And that's the purpose of that is raising capital for small businesses. So this is really important to our business community, workshops and a capital summit. And there's a variety of workshops that you could sign up for free. So that's also really good news to share. And I think I had one more thing, and I'll pause for questions that I had put in the, sorry, that I put in the, oh, and the revolving loan fund. So we have a small business revolving loan fund. Community First is our partner, and they have done a website revamp, and I'll also share that in the link as well. And it's also on our website. So I'll pause there for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions online? Any question from the audience or? Well, I think you got off lucky.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, Community Services, Stephanie Nye.
Hello, everyone. This is Stephanie Nye, Community Services Department, Recreation, and Staff Liaison to the Neighborhood Councils. First, I want to start off with some reminders for our neighborhood councils. Neighborhood councils have access to use our community centers for your regular in-person meetings at no cost. So please contact the registration office to reserve our community centers for your meetings this year. You guys also have access to our printing and mailing services. Please contact us to coordinate your print job, and remember to please submit those requests well in advance. You can reach out to us at neighborhoods@ci.richmond.ca.us to start working on your print job. The 2024 dumpster day schedule has been finalized. I will be sending out an email tomorrow morning or afternoon to confirm it. It's essentially the same schedule I initially sent everybody earlier last month. As a reminder, please do not circulate the overall schedule beyond your neighborhood residents. We try to keep our outreach localized so that there's not a lot of traffic from outside of the neighborhood on the day of the dumpster day. And then we also submitted a grant application for our neighborhood to provide funding for neighborhood council events. We will find out in the next few weeks if we are awarded. I want to thank the RNCC Executive Board for their support and assistance with the application. And if we are awarded, we would start work this summer through the end of next year to just fund events for you guys. For the Love Your Block mini grant, as Garland mentioned, you can apply for up to $10,000 for volunteer-based community beautification projects. The deadline is Friday, February 23rd. You must have a 501c3 fiscal sponsor to apply for the grant. If you're not able to secure a fiscal sponsor by the application deadline, we do have alternatives to working with you on your project. We have the Love Your Block in-kind sponsorship program that's available on a rolling basis where we provide supplies for your projects. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me, Stephanie. My phone number is 510-620-6563. In terms of new programs and events for the Recreation Division, we are holding a Recreation Community Cleanup at the Recreation Complex on Saturday, February 24th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will provide the tools and supplies, and we'll also be giving lunch to volunteers. We have started registration for our President's Week Camp, which will take place Tuesday, February 20th through Friday, February 23rd. And we also have started registration for our Spring Break Camp, which will be April 1st through April 5th. This Friday, we will be opening up registration for our spring cohort of the Youth Outdoors Richmond program. This will be from March 16th through May 4th on Wednesdays and Saturdays. It is completely free to participants, and it includes exciting activities like a 3-day, 2-night overnight camping trip to San Luis Reservoir in Central California during spring break. We also have service learning projects with the Watershed Project and Groundwork Richmond. We'll be doing bicycling and sailing, and we're also planning to take the kids to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Again, the participation is free. Registration starts this Friday, and this is funded by the Outdoor Equity Grant that we were awarded from the state of California. We'll also be having our Black History celebration on Saturday, February 24th from 1 to 3 p.m. at the auditorium. Tickets are now on sale for $15 per person. And our aquatics programs, they are going to host our very first floating egg hunt on March 16th at Richmond Swim Center. This will include a pool egg hunt and playtime in the pool, as well as a goodie bag for participants. And in addition to that, we'll have our regular annual spring egg hunt at Nickel Park on March 23rd, 2024. And I think that about concludes my updates. Any questions?
Any questions? Could you tell us, remind us where we could find this information on the city website?
For the events,
Yes.
it's under the Recreation Division. So if you go to Community Services Department and then head to the Recreation Division, you can sign up to receive our bi-weekly newsletter, or you can check out our our activity guide, which is posted on the website as well.
Thank you very much. And then to contact you for the Love Your Block grants?
Yeah, you could just call me at 510-620-6563. You could also email me at volunteer@ci.richmond.ca.us.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions online or in-house? Seeing none, we want to thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you, Stephanie. So moving on, we have Hector Rojas from Planning. Is Hector online? Anyone from Planning online? Okay, I guess we'll move on to old business, which would include new policies. The RNCC is in the middle of creating new policies to help neighborhood councils navigate the creation of their neighborhood councils and other issues. So anyone else have anything to add to old business? Yeah, it's old business. He's always. No, moving on to new business. Cordell, do you have anything for new business?
He's got his hand up. Cordell? Okay.
No, Cordell?
Yes, can
Well,
you hear me now, Otto?
yes, we can.
Yeah, so I had something for new business. So first of all, I apologize for coming on late. There was another meeting at the same time. So, but I do have some ideas though for a future agenda. So I think I sent you an email, Ardo, regarding the to invite Miss Tanya to come speak to you all about about community villages and what they do. So I sent you an email last month for to see if we can have Miss Tanya to come speak to you all.
Okay.
I pasted what community villages what they do. So they talk about like mental health and all of that stuff.
Okay, that sounds interesting. I'll definitely double check and look into it.
And then, and then the other announcement was the RNCC is invited to the Hug a Bear dinner hosted by the Santa Fe Neighborhood Council on February the 29th at the Galileo Club at 7. So I should get more information in a couple of days. So that's it. And I'm gonna try to come in person next month. I'm gonna try.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that information. Is there anything else that anybody wants to add for new business? I do. Jan?
Since we started to meet in person, we do have refreshments. So last month, Parchester Village brought refreshments. This month, North and East brought refreshments. So if you're planning on coming in, we would appreciate if you signed up. It's just, we have water, so we don't need any more water at this point but just light snacks, just something to, tide you over till you get home. But and you can email me at rnccrichmondca@gmail.com. Thank you.
That's if you're a neighborhood council, correct?
Huh?
You're asking neighborhood councils to,
Correct.
yeah, okay, very good. I guess before we close, I'd like to also reiterate thank you to Congressman Garamendi. Thank you for County Supervisor John Joya and the Mayor of Richmond for acknowledging the hard work of the RNCC and the neighborhood councils associated with the RNCC. We were overwhelmed with gratitude, so thank you for that recognition. Also, I wanted to also talk about.
And you all deserve it too.
Oh, thank you. Also wanted to mention, it was mentioned before that Irma Anderson, there will be a ceremony at Easter Hill Easter Hill Church on next Friday, this Friday at 10 a.m. So I also wanted to recognize Steve Bischoff. He was a neighborhood council president, and he will be sorely missed. And next Monday is a holiday, so the city should be closed. So the RNCC has an e-board meeting where we have to discuss whether we want to do an e-board meeting without the city liaison, Stephanie and I, but we could talk about that later. And then also wanted to say that they are taking applications for Cinco de Mayo. If you want a table or you want to enter your car in the parade or enter the parade, they are accepting applications right now. So you have to get those things in fast if you want to be in the Cinco de Mayo parade. So are there any announcements or questions or concerns before we leave and adjourn? Seeing none, it's 8:47. Yeah, absolutely. We do want to adjourn in the memory of Steve Bischoff and in the memory of Irma Anderson, who was a city icon. And Rock is asking for a moment of silence, so if you don't mind. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 8:47. Thank you all. Thank you for coming.